Taylor, welcome to Camera Conversations, optimised by Pure Sport. We good to go?
Yeah, good to go. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, well, it's really good to have you on, mate. And you and I both got to know each other a lot over the last little while. But for the listeners, I want to join the dots because getting chucked out the family house at 17 to where you are now with successful portfolio, the sourcing business, everything that you've had going on, let's join some of those dots.
Okay, yeah. It's a weird one. I've spoken about this a couple of times, and I make no secret of it, I was an absolute menace when I was younger, just pumping full of testosterone, no real direction, loved chaos. Like, not much has changed, to be honest. I'm still the same now. I can just control it a little bit better.
And it's channeled probably now too.
Yeah, I've got an outlet for that energy, whereas when I was younger, I didn't really have much of an outlet. So it manifested, it came out in its own way, which was always negative. So it took a lot of time and a lot of personal development, a lot of work to be able to control that, to be honest. And that's probably been some of the best work I've done, is that area, because that's allowed me to then come to where I am now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the times when I speak to guests, they reflect on the periods where sometimes rock bottom's a term they use, or just a huge challenge in their life that maybe redirects them as well. But when I've been getting to know you, you said to me that 21 was kind of when you screwed your head on.
Give or take.
So there was a bit of a gap between mum and dad saying, Taylor, piss off, through to you really walking in. What was going on during that time?
It's just a lot of shit, to be honest. Just a lot of drinking, a lot of getting into trouble, a lot of not really focusing, wasted potential, just it kind of coincided. My dad bought a pub when I was 18.
Yep.
And it was great for him, like business wise, but for me being 18 and kind of being quite arrogant at that age as well, to be honest with you, I was like, oh, well, my dad's got a pub, I can do what I want. And I did do what I wanted, to be honest. And it just progressively got worse as I was drinking more, as I was kind of in that situation, that circle.
Yeah.
And it just progressively got worse and worse and worse until, like you say, I probably hit rock bottom about 20, I would say, in terms of just not happy with myself, not happy with my goals, not happy with my money, my work, my body, my mind, just everything about it. I just wasn't happy. And that's really when I started doing a lot of personal development, to be honest, starting listening to podcasts like this, listening to different audiobooks and reading books, just trying to just become a little bit better than what I was, to be honest.
Yeah, and in terms of vehicles, like property is the one that people know you for.
Yeah.
Now, what was it about property that maybe got your attention and gave you this feeling that you've now got where you pursue it all the time?
I always liked property because it was something, if I could acquire a property and rent it out, I didn't need to turn up to work every day to get that money. Like, my thing has always been, how do I make money with the least amount of work possible? Like, it sounds quite lazy, but I'm happy to work. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I wanted to find a more, what's the word? A
more efficient vehicle.
Yeah, exactly. Efficient. So, like, I was still working when I bought my first property. And what was I now? 21, give or take. So I was renting a flat in the town from a friend's dad of mine. And the money I was getting from the rental property that I bought was covering the rental property that I was using for myself. Maybe like 50 quid spare. So I was like, shit, I'm not having to pay anything. I've got quite a cool wee flat for the age I was. And I was like, this actually makes a lot of sense. So I want to just get my head down and just buy more of these. Like, that was the main thought process.
It's funny, one of my friends who's been on the show, Mackenzie Haldane's, he does drop shipping, but he always talks about the infinite money glitch. And so what you had there was the glitch of, I've got this rental property, I think it was a commercial unit you bought initially.
Yeah, it was a small shop, yeah.
We can chat about that in a wee second. But that's paying for my living costs elsewhere. So it's like, oh, the money's being acquired from somewhere else to fuel this other area of my lifestyle, which is, it's nice when we can work those things out.
Yeah, well, that was the biggest thing, like, being at that age and still kind of having my head up my arse, to be honest. I wanted to go and buy a fancy car. I wanted to go and waste it on clothes, on holidays, on nights out with my mates, like stupid watches, things like that. And when I was sitting thinking about it, I was like, money is so difficult to come by. Like, or certainly at that time, it was difficult to come by. And I was like, if I go and spend all this now, what will I have to do to get the same amount again? And I thought, well, that could take 2, 3, 4 years worth of saving. And I'm like, well, if I just don't spend it on anything stupid, if I buy something that will either hold value or increase and potentially spit off some income in terms of cash flow, I'll still have my money and then I can spend whatever's made or generated from that. So it was just about, to be honest, it was mostly about preservation. That was the biggest thing, is like, how do I keep this money that I have for as long as possible? And I just thought, well, buy a property, at least if it even stays at the same value, I'll get the cash flow, so I'm still making profit. And then if I do come to sell it, which I now have, I get the money straight back. So it was always preservation for me. How do I make this last as long as possible?
When I think about Tearaway Taylor, how did you have the wherewithal and the knowledge to decide to do that with that unit? Like what was ticking in your brain that enabled you to join those dots?
To be fair, there was no knowledge as per se. The flat that I was staying in at the time, I rented from a really good friend of mine, his dad, and he had a massive portfolio at the time, and he had a development company and just a few different bits. So he was quite actively involved. And he had a house in Spain, so whenever he went away to Spain, we would all party at his house, like with my mate. And this is like a 7-bedroom, 5-bathroom, massive swimming pool, office, gym, like the full works. And we're like having a drink in there, inviting folk around, and I'm like, I'm needing a bit of this for me. Do you know? Like I was like, I want this. So I just started asking more questions to Ian, that's his name. And I was like, so how did you start? How do I buy? What do I offer? Like, how do I work this out? I just started asking so many questions. And I think he actually quite liked the fact that I was interested. So he just started giving me a help when I could. And to be honest, the first 3 units, the first 2 he helped me buy, and the third one I actually bought from him. And that gave me my kickstart. That gave me the confidence, the knowledge to then be like, do you know what? I can actually do this. It's not unavailable to me.
We need a role model or something to aim for. And sometimes that can be really far removed. And I think nowadays, if we fast forward to 2025, we can get that online a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But if in our generation growing up, I'm 32, you're early
31
30 as well. We maybe didn't have the same access to that information. So you needed somebody within your vicinity who could speak about it, and you be like, oh, that makes sense that he's done that. And while I may not be able to do it on the same scale, although I'm sure you're on the course to do that, Taylor.
We're getting there, yeah.
You could see how he'd done things that you could maybe do a similar version of, or at least start to.
Yeah. Something, again, you've hit the nail on the head there, but something I've even done since that day is people that I meet and I'm thinking, oh, wow, this is an impressive guy. This is someone I would like to take some parts of and incorporate into my life, is humanize the person first. Like, this is just a regular person. He's maybe no smarter, no richer. He's not started off in any different position, but he's made it. So why and how? And what has he done to himself in terms of personality, sacrifice, discipline? Like, what has he implied that's helped him get there? Because if he's no different than me, then I can just do the same process within reason. Do you know? Like, it's not copy and paste. But if a regular guy from a scheme down in Glasgow or somewhere else can make it, it's like, well, why can't I? I'm no different to these people.
There's a phrase I use in the podcast a lot: if not you, then who?
Exactly.
And I think when you have these role models, and somebody will have maybe a genetic disposition or a slight talent edge in certain areas, but if you can look at their framework and their process and apply elements of it, it's quite encouraging. Yeah. And the way you felt there, you were like, oh, well, if I meet this guy and he's impressive and I can learn a little bit from it and I can implement it in my life, then the interaction was really beneficial for you. And there's so much that's enabled me to go now fully self-employed. There's been so many lessons from over 300 guests in the show. I just take little tidbits here and there. Yeah. And while they may have certain areas of talent that are better in mine in a particular field, I can borrow what works for them in an area that works for me. Yeah. And I think you at a young age, seeing Ian doing this with property, like, it makes sense for you to use that cash that you got hold of to get yourself that first unit, that second unit, that third unit. Exactly.
The first one's always the hardest. Like, I think it's Charlie Munger, the stock market investor from America. He always says the first 100 grand is the hardest. The next one is...
I think he says it's a bitch. Yeah, it's
and the next one's a bit easier. Next one's a bit easier. Once you hit $1 million, you make 2, like that. And in my experience, like, the first 50 or 100 was the most difficult, because you're going from 0 to a change in life. Do you know, you're going from 0 to, like, right now I've actually got a bit of something and I can actually do something useful with it. I found that part probably harder than going from 100 to $1 million. Because the work you have to do from that stage is massive. Like, I personally had to completely change my entire self. Like, I had to be a different person. Whereas to go from 100 to $1 million, it's only a few minor tweaks and a bit more consistency. So I found it was less dramatic, and I certainly put more value in the first part than the second. Not more value, but I think I got more from it. There was a bigger change. There was
probably
a bigger
taught you more as well.
Yeah, exactly.
These days, it feels like every brand is shouting about how supplements are the answer to everything and all your problems. Before you jump on the latest wellness trend, it's worth remembering the foundations and basics come first. Hydration, good nutrition, rest, movement are the real keys. When you do decide to supplement, however, what you choose really does matter. You know I'm a big fan of removing toxins and unnecessary things from your lifestyle, and I ensure that my supplements are free from additives, artificial flavors, and any unnecessary, dirty, toxic fillers. Personally, having seen many professional athletes and top performers utilize their products, I decided to give Pure Sport Supplements a go. Their products are built on science-backed information, minimal ingredients, and they do exactly what they're meant to. Whether it's their best-selling ultra electrolytes to keep you hydrated and energized, boost, their deep magnesium to support with quality sleep, or even their natural testosterone boosting Tonka Ali, I trust that what they make is developed to care for me and my body. Explore the full range of Pure Sport supplements at the link in the show notes, puresport.co, and use the code CAMBRO10 for 10% off.
I know you bounced around a lot of different jobs before the property became your full-time thing, and you had a previous business before that as well. You're really excited for 6 by Nico this weekend because you were texting me about it. I know you worked as a chef. What were some of the different little jobs that you end up doing?
So I started working quite young. So I got my very, very first job when I was 13. And we lived next door to a hotel in Edsall, which is a small village just up where we're from. And I've always wanted money. I've always wanted a bit more freedom. So they used to have weddings every weekend, and I would go in and I'd clear up the whole function room, mop the floors, wash the glasses, all that sort of stuff. So I would do that on the weekends and then progress to washing the pots in the kitchen. And when I was washing the pots, I was getting a lot more hours. So I was making some decent money whilst I was at school. And I remember the week of my exams, so it was, I would have been 15, 16 at the time. And the owner pulled us me and the head chef into the office, and he was going crazy at the head chef. He's like, how is it he's got exams this week and he's done more hours than you? Because I was doing like 40-hour weeks whilst I was at school, just nights and weekends. And I loved it at the time. I was making like 200-300 quid a week, and I'm 15. My pals are getting 20 quid from a paper round. I'm like, I'm flying. Like,
Different game.
Yeah, at that stage, I was like, why would I go back to school? I just want to come back. Like, I want a full-time job. I want to work. I want to make money. And I really enjoyed in the kitchen the stress, to be honest with you. I loved the pressure. I loved the creativity of the food. The only thing I didn't like was the hours. Like, being a young guy, I was getting a Monday and a Tuesday off, so I just didn't like that. And
your pals are all at school or
going out at the weekend. Once we started hitting sort of 17, 18, everyone's going out for a few beers at the weekend. I'm like, oh, I'm working 9 till 2, 5 till 9. Like, I can't. So that was a big part of it for me. And notoriously working in kitchens, like, there's no such thing as a 40-hour week. You're doing 60, 70, 80 hours and you're getting wages for 40. So that started to wear a bit thin after a while too. Like, once I'd left school and other friends had jobs and some had started apprenticeships and et cetera, I was no longer making loads of money relatively. I was making okay money, but I was doing twice the hours as everyone else. And I'm like, okay, there's something here that I'm not quite understanding. So I got a job after that as a baker with my dad's friend. He's dead now, but he had a company up the East Coast. I had like 4 or 5 different bakeries. So I moved over to baking, and that was night shift, 10 in the morning, 10 at night until 6 in the morning. But you got the weekends off. So that was like...
Party Taylor would have loved that.
It was a balance for me, yeah. And again, at that stage, my head was still up my ass. So I'm like, yes, I can go out all weekend with the guys and just get steaming. And again, that started to wear thin with the overtime and the money and the night shift and things like that. The next sort of thing I went into, I was wanting more money. I've always been money hungry. So I started looking at offshore companies. Being from the Northeast, Montrose, Aberdeen.
At that time as well,
it was
oil
massive.
was at its peak, wasn't it?
It was crazy. And guys I knew that were working offshore it was like the money printer wasn't stopping. Like, it was, and what I'd seen, I was like, I want a bit of this. I want to travel. I want to visit international countries. I want a decent wage. And I also wanted a bit more of a challenge as well. Like, I need mental stimulation. Otherwise, I just get so bored. So I eventually got a job up in Aberdeen doing like high pressure testing. Really enjoyed that. But when everything kind of got shelved in 2016, 17 with the oil downturn, I got paid off. So I was a little bit gutted, to be honest, because I'd spent a lot of time and effort trying to get this position. I was there for maybe about a year and a half, and I was like, finally thought, wow, this is it. Like, I just need to work my way through, keep my head down, do what I'm doing, and I'll be okay. But then that all got shelved, and I was like, fuck, like, what do I do? Like, I thought this was it. I thought that was my chance. So I went back to work with my dad, and I probably should have said...
A landscaping business, isn't it? I remember you telling me this. Has he still got it?
Yeah, to this day, yeah. So he's had that since I was about 5, so that's 26 years now. And I was always out working with him at like Easter, like any holidays, any days off, anytime I wanted anything, I was out working for it since a very young age. So that's always just kind of been instilled into me. So as soon as I got paid off, I went back to work with my dad. And I don't know if anyone's ever worked with their parents, but fuck me, like, especially the older I got, it was difficult. Like, it was hard. We're very similar. So there was a lot of bumping heads. And I knew I didn't want to stay with him, like working with him. I knew I didn't want to do that forever, but it was just like, well, I've got no income, so I need to do something. And during that process, we were out like different developments, different new build developments, different sites, all that sort of stuff. And the common theme I kept hearing was there's no machines to be hired. Certainly between Dundee and Aberdeen, because it's slightly more rural. So I took what savings I had at the time and bought like a really old, rusty, rattly digger and a trailer for about £6,000. And I was dropping it off in the morning before I went to work with my dad, working all day, collecting it in the evening. And then I had that little 1-bedroom flat, the shop at the time rented as well. So between the shop and the digger, that was paying all my bills. And then I was able to just save all my wages.
It's a money glitch, isn't it?
Exactly.
And when you open your eyes to that's how money really is and how it operates, you never can unsee that.
Someone explained it to me a long time ago. Money is simply just a tool. Like the same as a hammer, the same as a cup, the same as a chair. It is there to do a job. And that job, for me anyway, is to generate more money or to allow you to buy back a bit of time. Whereas how you view money, I see it with people all the time, depending on how they view it and their understanding of it, they don't use it correctly. And by misusing it, they end up with less of it.
A lot of scarcity mindset around money.
Yeah.
And that comes from upbringing, it comes from environment, it comes from circumstance. There's all these different factors at play. But I completely agree. Once you can rewire your mind to see it as a tool to either, as you say, improve lifestyle, to generate more money, to compound, or to buy back time, which can either allow you to work in another venture or to relax as well, which matters too. Then you never quite see it in the same way.
Yeah.
And that is a good thing. And I think the people that listen to a type of podcast like this one are trying to learn those tidbits secondhand from somebody and then employ them in their own life.
Absolutely. Like it's a very good thing to learn. And like the reason I learned it was from different podcasts, different audiobooks and listening to different people. The one thing I have noticed a little bit more recently is it can be a double-edged sword. Do you know, like we've just spent a bunch of money on a wedding this year, for example. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I could have bought another unit. I could have put that on marketing. I could have employed a staff member. I could have done something with that money that would have generated more time, more freedom, more money, etc. So it took me quite a lot mentally to be comfortable spending such a large portion of money on something personal, if that makes sense. Like I'm not really in the habit of doing that. Like I always just reinvest and spend my money on the business. And I live on very little money, to be honest with you.
We were talking about cars on one of the calls we had, and you were joking that if you're like, if the car's like an extra $5,000, that's working towards another deposit on another unit, which would cash flow me X or Y or Z. Yeah. And it's difficult. And I think some people are in different camps. There's like the kind of type B personality that's quite relaxed and quite willing to enjoy that. And then there's the type A personality. It's like, no, I need to make this do its maximum. I need to work harder. I need to do more. Yeah. And that's we're all wired differently. Yeah. And it's just making sure that we give ourselves grace depending which side we fall onto.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I found myself. I felt almost guilty by taking the money out to spend on something personal, because I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything productive, quote unquote. Obviously, we got married. It was a great experience. The family had an amazing day. Shan's now my wife. Like it was an amazing day. I don't regret spending the money, but it was a bit of a mental exercise trying to not convince myself, but just to reassure myself that this is a good use of money. It doesn't have to be purely investment or financial. Do you know, it can be fulfillment. It can be for good lives as well.
Yeah, there's other things to measure things by. So like experiences matter too. Yeah. So whether it's a holiday, whether it's a gift for somebody that you care about, like these things also fuel us in the right way rather than necessarily just capital growth.
Exactly. There's more to life than money at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. When did your eyes really open to what was possible within property? I know we're both friends with Richard, and I know he's played a role in your journey as well. When did things really switch from maybe having 1 or 2 units, 3 units to the guy that sits in front of me now with your portfolio?
So, to be honest, the biggest thing was when I started doing Property Protégé with Paul McFadden. My business was open at the time and I already had 2 or 3 units. So I had a bit of experience, not a great deal. Pardon me. But when I went there, I got such a volume of information. Excuse me, I shouldn't have drank that coffee so quick.
Yeah, all good. We need you caffeinated though.
When I first met him, I got access to so much information, but not even just that, like the network and the group that he's built. I was very nervous when I first went into it. I thought, I've never been to university, barely finished school. Who am I going to be in this room compared to other people? So I felt really unsure and I wouldn't say unconfident, but just a bit nervous. And then when I got in again, something I always like to do is what I mentioned before, is just humanize people. So I'm looking in the room, I'm going, right, who's the movers in here? Who's the guys that are doing well? Get to know them a little bit. And I'm going, you're just a regular guy like me. You're not some fancy neuroscientist, rocket scientist that's you're just a regular guy. So as soon as I'm able to humanize someone, I'm able to go well, I can do this. It just always makes it a little bit more achievable. Yeah, exactly. That group's been fantastic for me. But as a whole, personal development in general, I've done a lot of courses, done sales training with yourself. I've done public speaking training. I've done social media training. I've done property training. I've done multiple different things that have helped the business over the last sort of 4 or 5 years. And I would say that's probably been the hinge pin for me, is personal development training and finding people who are doing what you want to do or better at doing what you're doing and paying them to show you.
Yeah, I think with the online world we live in, we see a lot of online mentorship and a lot of coaching, and it gets a bad rap because there's courses out there that aren't worth the paper they're written on or the screen they're typed on, so to speak. But it's about finding those sources that speak to you and give you the tools that you can then employ. And if I think about the work that we did, you're such a structured, process-driven guy.
Yeah.
Once we had those tools, it was like, right, watch him go. Whereas I think some people, they need a different type of coaching, or they maybe need a different type of support, which enables them. So when you go to Protégé, which I think from memory is like a 3-day course where it's like trying to drink from a fire hose, you're learning so much. Those that action it afterwards, or pick 2 things to action afterwards, are those that really kick on, whereas those that maybe dwell on the information and I talk sometimes in the podcast about mental masturbation, maybe rewatching the videos or rewatching the course and never actually ever implementing anything. They're the ones that always talk maybe poorly about education or coaching or mentorship.
100%. I've seen it happen loads, to be honest. People get very fired up. They get access to the information. They've got grand plans, which, and again, that's great. Like, everyone should be like that. But it's a lot harder to execute. Like, execution and discipline is the only thing that will really make anything happen. Like, you can have the best idea in the world, but unless you wake up every day and execute every single day until it becomes a reality, it's just a fantasy. Like, the work has to follow, do you know? Like,
definitely. What were some of the things that you learned in those initial courses then?
The biggest thing for me was around finance and structuring finance and raising private finance, to be honest. I had quite an old school mentality towards investment, and it was save up a deposit, buy a house, rent it out, save again, and just repeat that process. And don't get me wrong, it works. Like, it does work, but it's a very slow process. So I learned how to free up money in terms of like refinancing and leveraging like different types of finance products. And then I also learned more about private finance, where you can have other investors come in and fund deals for a percentage and things like that. That was probably the biggest thing for me, was getting access to more money, because I'm quite good. Once I learn something and I've got an understanding of it, I'm quite good with running with it. And when I had that information, I had a bit of money of my own that I'd invested and bought some more units and stuff like that. And I found that the biggest constraint was like, shit, I just don't have enough money now. Like, that's the biggest problem. It wasn't that I couldn't find the deals. It wasn't that I couldn't renovate and do what I needed to do in terms of like the numbers.
It was the capital to get the project
I don't
off
have
the ground.
enough money to do as many deals as I'd like. So I was like, I need to really focus on this, because you can only save so much, do you know? But it might take you a year to save 100,000, whereas it might take you an afternoon to find someone that's willing to invest it. So
that's right. Or 2 people that'll do 50
exactly, yeah. So switching my mindset around that was a big thing, because in my head I was always like, well, it'll take me 6 months or a year to save X amount. Whereas now it's like, well, I can phone a few guys and they've got it sitting and we'll both make money.
Yeah, the term there is either a joint venture partner or a sort of a private investor, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you look for in terms of characteristics with somebody that you would want to go into that sort of venture with?
A few things, to be honest.
And you've worked with so many different ones, so you can probably speak to this well.
A few things. I always look for not easygoing, but flexibility. You don't want someone that's too headstrong. You don't want someone that's going to nitpick at every little single final detail. Don't get me wrong, details matter, but there's a right type of person for each deal. If it's a lower value deal, less money, less risk, you probably get more people in, and you have to be less picky in that sense, I would say, because it's easier to fulfill, easier to commit to, and it's just a bit simpler. Whereas when we're raising funds for like the hotel, that's a totally different type of person. Like, instead of maybe someone that's got 50 or 100 grand, we're looking at people that have got 2, 3, 4, 5 million. And what they want and what they expect back and to put in is completely different to someone that's got 50 grand they've saved up personally and they're wanting to make a bit extra money. So you have to tailor what you're doing and what you're offering to each person, which is quite interesting. And it was weird, because I always thought as you kind of went up that scale, the people would become harder to deal with, but it's actually the complete opposite. They couldn't be, because most people at that level that have got 1, 2, 3 million, they've probably got a business, they've probably got a lot of investments, they're probably in a really quite busy, demanding situation anyway. So they don't want extra work, they want extra income, and they want less hassle.
And they're outsourcing that to you, aren't they?
Exactly. That's the way they look at it. They're looking, well, who can do the work because I have the money? as long as we're able to do our end, they're able to do their end. So it makes it a little bit easier. Whereas the person that's maybe got less money, they want to be involved with every step. They want to pick the colour of white. They want to make sure it's the right shade of grey on the carpet. And these are all fine. It's not a bad thing. It's just knowing, it's horses for courses. It's knowing this person would suit that better and this person would suit that better.
Yeah, we did a lot of work together on ideal client profile.
Yeah.
Both for investors coming in and working with you, guys working with you on the sourcing side of the business. And when we start to map out what these people look like, sound like, what are their traits, what are their challenges, what are the things that they are driven by, what are they motivated by, once we understand that, it's exactly that phrase, horses for courses. You can adapt your approach and be a bit of a chameleon to work with somebody in the way that they want to be worked with. And one of the earlier guests in the show that was a really big capture for me was a guy called Thomas Erickson, who wrote a book called Surrounded by Idiots. It's all about personality types.
Yeah.
And once you understand that we're all wired differently, you adapt maybe how you speak to a different person. If you realize that, they're a bit of the colours are on the chart in the Surrounded by Idiots book, and it's like they're a bit of a yellow, they're a bit more of a slower person who's more easygoing, is a bit more about social, a bit more about chatting, and then you'll deal with the other guy that's very like numbers, fast, move now, let's go. And of course, you write a very different WhatsApp or very different email to that person, or you speak to them differently and send them something different rather than War and Peace for the person that needs all the detail, whereas it's just like headline, figures up front, let's go to the other person.
Yeah. It's something I've had to learn, to be honest, because like you say, you can't speak to everyone the same. And probably the clearest example of that for me was I've taken my wife Shan into the business over the last couple of years, and I am that numbers, direct, I wouldn't say emotionless, but very just like direct to the
You're
point.
an operator, mate. You move really fast. I know this from working together.
And when me and Shan first started working together, I'm speaking to her like that in a business sense, like, get this done, get that done, this is that, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. You know, just very direct. And she's not that type of person. So she was taking it very personally. And we had to have a conversation and be like, look, this isn't me personally saying to you, I'm not happy with that or with you or what you've done. It's, this is what we need done for the business. Let's get it done. And then we can discuss the other stuff later. So I've had to soften my approach a little bit in that sense. Like you say, I can't speak to her like I might maybe David or Andrew, my business partners, who are both very direct and quick as well. I have to kind of change the tone a little bit to get the same message across and get the same result, but it has to be said slightly differently. So that's taken a bit of work, to be honest.
What were some of those early deals that you did post Protégé once you had some of these new ideas and these new ways of raising finance? What were some of those early ones that maybe excited you? Like, I couldn't believe I could do it like this.
Well, when I did Protégé in May 2021, and by the end of that year, I'm pretty sure I had another 3 properties bought. So I went in with 3 properties that I had some money tied up and stuff. I learned about the finance. I was able to withdraw 100,000 out from, just shy of 100,000 from them. And I bought another 3 units by the end of the year. One was a 1-bedroom, one was a 2-bedroom, and one was 2 were a 2-bedroom actually, but we did a 2 to 3 bed conversion. So that was probably the most interesting one, because we bought a 2-bedroom flat for 50,000. It was massive. It was like 100 square meters. We moved the bathroom into the living room and then moved a bedroom into the old bathroom. 50,000 purchase, we're about 35,000 spend, and we got revalued at 110,000. So we managed to get most of the money back out, and it's been rented ever since. Like, it's been a really great unit. And seeing that sort of start to finish in my head, I was like, right, this makes sense. I can do this. It's true what we were taught on the course. You can get these types of deals that provide this type of return in this type of time frame. And once I got that, I really just ran with it. I was like, right, it makes sense. Let's go.
Proof of concept's huge, isn't it?
100%.
And we can even joke about when we were talking about some of the sourcing stuff that you did, and we adjusted your offer a little bit, and you voiced note me, you're like, I can't believe this type of offer worked. But when you coach or mentor somebody, you want to get them a quick win with a structure. And I think that's something that everyone who delivers some sort of mentorship or coaching or support, you want to help your client see that what you're teaching works early on, and then it gives them encouragement in the way that you came out of that bushy-tailed and bright-eyed, excited, 3 properties bought with different strategies from before, and you're like, whoa, there's no stopping me now. Yeah,
exactly. Literally, it was just a massive tick in my head. I was like, I knew it made sense before, and then I got all this information, and I'm like, right, okay, let's go and see if it actually makes sense in practice. And then once it did, I was like, There's literally no stopping me now. Like, I have the formula, I have everything I need. I just need to run with it.
More leads, more meetings, more quotes, more proposals, and closing a higher percentage of those. That's exactly what it's time to unlock with my sales masterclass. I've distilled down over 15 years of sales experience across B2B and B2C into some actionable lessons which you can benefit from. Clients that I've worked with one-to-one over the last 6 to 18 months have had incredible results, and it's now time for me to share with you an easier way to work with me rather than on a one-to-one basis. To get involved, hit the link in the show notes or under this description wherever you're watching this to join today's waiting list, and there's even some free goodies in there for you while you wait for the course to go live.
You were still running the plant hire business at that stage. How did that scale?
Slowly and stressfully, to be honest. The plant hire was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, and on reflection, since most of the problems were caused by me or lack of information, lack of knowledge, wasn't the best at systemizing. Everything was kind of, all bookings were done via the phone or via some sort of contact with me. There was a lot of dependency on me. I was working 7 days a week, sort of 12, 13 hours a day, which I don't mind working hard, but it started to wear thin a little bit. And sort of the end of the year that I did Protégé, when I hit 6 units, those 6 units provided enough cash flow to cover all my bills, like my car, my house, my food, etc., etc. And that's when I kind of had the choice. I was like, I can either keep banging my head against the wall with the plant hire. Don't get me wrong, it was doing all right. We were making a bit of money, but it was sucking the life out of me physically. And then when I looked at it, I was like, I have enough money coming in now to cover all my bills. And if I take that same 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and put it into property, what can I do with that? And I knew it wasn't going to be 3 months or 6 months or even a year. But I thought, if I can get 2 or 3 years at this, there's really nothing I can't do. So it was more a time thing at that stage than anything else.
We talk a lot about the vehicle and being in the right vehicle.
Yeah.
And sometimes a business that you've built up as a labour of love, you have a bit of an attachment to it, and that's totally understandable.
Yeah.
But if that vehicle doesn't get you to where you want to get to as fast as potentially another one does with the same effort or perhaps less effort but more focused effort, then it becomes quite a difficult choice, but a clear choice that you maybe need to leave something that you've built behind.
Yeah.
How did you process that?
To be honest, I didn't process it that much before we closed. It wasn't until afterwards. I was walking with my dog down by the river, maybe about 2 weeks later, and my phone wasn't ringing. I didn't have this mad like anxiety feeling. I didn't have this stress that was on my shoulders. I was just walking down by the river with the dog, and I just remember looking up thinking, wow, like I can't believe how non-stressed I feel, like how good I actually felt then. I didn't realise how stressed and how like down I was about the business until I wasn't, you know? So it was like...
When you're in it, you don't often realise, do you?
You're just putting one foot in front of the other. Every day, one foot in front of the other. We'll crack on, we'll do this, we'll do that. As long as the money's coming in, the guys are getting paid, everything's covered, we're making money, it's fine. It wasn't until I stopped that I realised, wow, like I was going to fall off a cliff before long, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and when you have that recognition, you know that you've made the right decision to pull away from something. Mm-hmm. And even though I know during the lockdown it scaled a lot because of the nature of how many people were doing the gardens or building man caves or whatever else, and you're buying more and more machines, but even as it's growing, it's still not quite doing what you need it to do.
In terms of revenue, it was making all right money, but again, doing like the property courses and more self-development, I learned the difference between high ticket sales and low ticket sales. And I was maybe having 30 to 50 interactions per day for relatively low ticket items. We would rent a digger for £100 a day. So we were busy, we were making money, but the interactions I had to have to generate that were substantial, like phenomenal. And there's the age-old saying, low ticket people, low ticket problems. And we were just getting constant problems. And I was like, all I'm doing is just causing myself grief. For like low ticket items, I'm like, if I could go through the same grief, the same work, the same hassle, but for high ticket items, the money would be substantially more, where I could then afford to pay people to come in and help and lighten the burden. And instead of needing 50, 100, 200 clients a month, I might only need 5 or 10. So it was a volume of work, to be honest, and going from low ticket to high ticket items, and systemizing would be a big thing, I would say. I didn't systemize enough, and that's what caused a lot of the problems.
Absolutely. And from the outside looking in, the model of owning an asset in the same way as you owned a digger versus you owned a unit that you were renting out,
Mm-hmm.
they're the same in terms of you're renting them out and you're making a cash flow every single month. But property typically is an appreciating asset, whereas your diggers are a depreciating asset.
Exactly.
And a lot of people wouldn't consider that to be important. But if for whatever reason, I think, have you sold the first unit that you bought now?
Yes, now we have, yeah.
And you probably got similar or more money back than
Well, we got the same, it held its value. We got exactly what we spent on it.
Whereas when you sell a digger,
It's a fraction.
it's done. Yeah, it's
fraction,
done. Yeah.
And the worst thing was, because you're dealing with low ticket clients and people that don't really care, every time a machine came back, it was devalued. It had an extra scratch, an extra ding, an extra something. So every time I'm seeing it coming in, I'm thinking, wow, I've spent 100 grand on machines and today they're worth 95. Tomorrow they're worth 90. The day after, like I could see it happening. And I was like, I can't keep doing this, because if we want to replace these machines in 4 years, I'm going to need another 100 grand. And the business, I was like, yeah, we're making money, but we're probably not going to have that in 4 years to replace the machines. So I'm like, I'm essentially doing it for free at that stage,
It's really difficult, isn't it? And I think we always have an emotional attachment to stuff that we build.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer that the sunk cost fallacy can be a problem. Like, people believe, like, I put so much time and effort into this, I can't leave now.
Yeah.
But sometimes the best thing is to cut ties.
Oh, absolutely.
And reassign that energy. And I think if we look at how you've kicked on in the last couple of years since exiting the business, it's that decision has been validated.
Oh, 100%. And don't get me wrong, like, it was an amazing stepping stone. Amazing. Like, I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't go through that and do that work. The amount of things I learned, the customer service skills, my computer skills, like, it all sounds dead simple, but the amount of different things I learned, sales, marketing, like money management, VAT, like all that sort of stuff you have to deal with, that's where I learned all that to start with. So it was definitely worthwhile. Like, I wouldn't be in the position I am today without doing that. And if I jump into doing property at the level I am now, I probably wouldn't do as well, because
you might have got burnt in those early days.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, completely agree. One of the most popular episodes of this year has been with Chris DL, who also did Protege with Paul and Richard. And he shared the rawness behind some of the maybe challenges that he's had within property, because while he's had massive success, very similar to yourself, there's always been things that come up that are a challenge, I guess.
Yeah.
What have been some of those for you that you reflect on, that you think back on as lessons?
So in terms of like developments and stuff, we've had a few problems. Like, there's always going to be a problem comes up with a development, especially as you start doing bigger developments that need more work. There's just so many unforeseens. So the biggest problem we've had to date was, we've got a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom SA, service accommodation, short-term let. It's not a property podcast, I need to remember. And it was originally a 2-bedroom flat with double garages underneath. So it's like an old sort of, I don't know, maybe a mechanic's house or that type of thing. It's quite an old building. It was built in 1900. And we purchased it with the intention to convert the 2 garages into further bedrooms and bathrooms to make it a 5-bed, 3-bath. And that was all fine. We had all the costs in. We had it surveyed I had a home report. I had my engineer in. I had my architect in. I had my builder in. I went in, had a look as well. Nobody's seen any issues, nothing like that. So we're all like, cool, it's good to go, no problems. Started ripping it back, pulling everything back to the brick, and we exposed the ceiling. And basically there was no support for the dormer that went in, and it was at risk of like collapse, basically. So what was meant to be a relatively straightforward refurb ended up needing about 15 grand's worth of steelworks. And that obviously came out of our pocket. Do you know, like, that was just a bit of a stinger at that stage. Fortunately, we had the money there to cover it, which was fine. So it wasn't really a big problem. It's just less money that's then available to invest. But if we didn't have that capital available, that probably would have sunk us on that particular deal. Or we would have had to raise more money, or we would have had to figure something out. So that was quite a big one. Another one was a flip I did with my now business partner, Andrew. 2-bedroom. It was an old office, but it was a weird one. So it was initially a flat, and then the Church of Scotland bought it and converted it to an office just to work out of. But all they did was change the use on paper and put in a couple of desks. It was still essentially a 2-bedroom flat. We purchased it from them, and we wanted to just revert it back to a flat. So we did this, did all the work, put it on the market, had it sold, and we were 2 or 3 days away from handing the keys over to the buyer when the solicitor then picked something up, and then the council jumped in and went, oh, you need to have a sprinkler system because it's been a commercial unit that's now going back to residential. Now, bearing in mind, this is a ground floor, 2-bedroom flat with 7 openable windows and 2 doors, all to exit from. And they made us go and put in a £10,000 sprinkler system 3 days before it was meant to sell, which pretty much killed the deal, to be honest. Like, we had investment funds in that. So both the investors got paid exactly what they wanted, what they were entitled to via the agreement. And Andrew and myself made about, I think it was like 900 quid or something each. So that was
sore, because that 10 grand would have been divvied up.
We would have split that. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't the most lucrative flip in the world, but there was a bit of profit in there. We didn't have any money, and my guys had done all the work, so it was relatively low work to money ratio, if that makes sense. But even, I always use it as a good example because that's one that went wrong, but we still didn't lose money. We still made money, although it wasn't what we wanted.
There was enough meat on the bones. And I think
Yeah.
that's an interesting thing. And guys that I know that really well that do property, they always talk about the spreadsheet
Yeah.
and how important the spreadsheet is before you go into anything, and accounting for some of those unseen variables like the 15K of steelworks,
Yeah.
like the additional sprinkler system. It's just having these things in mind, whereas sometimes if you're flying too close to the wind,
Yeah.
you're going to get caught at some point with a nasty one.
Something we always do as well, especially for like projects, we always overestimate the refurb and then underestimate the end value. Because if if it's worth 100, we'll always do 90, 95. We think the refurb's going to be 50, we'll do 55, 60. Because that builds in a little bit of protection on both ends for when those inevitable unknowns come up. Because you're always going to get them. Like, you can mitigate as much as you want, but there's always going to be things. Always. I've never had one property yet that's went exactly to plan.
Yeah, it's interesting. You've got so much experience now with running those refurbs, and you mentioned you've got a team as well.
Yeah.
How important is that for operating the scale you're operating at?
Oh, critical. Like, so critical. Like, trades will make or break any sort of property development business. Any. And don't get me wrong, our guys aren't the cheapest, but they're reliable, they're consistent, they're honest, they're great quality, they turn up when they say they're going to do, and they've got the capacity to then deal with 3, 4, 5 jobs at once in the time frame you need them. So that's been a bit of a transition as well. Do you know, when we first started, the first development we did, it was me and my dad that did it. So we did 90% of the work ourselves. And as it progressed and got busier and busier, it's like, right, well, I don't have the time to do that now. My dad doesn't have the time to do that now. So we had a joiner, a plumber, a sparky, like individual guys. But then as we're trying to do 2 or 3 projects, well, I can't get to this one for 3 months. I can't get to that one for 6 months. And it's like, well, I can't have people waiting that long. So as we've scaled, we've kind of had to increase the scale of the work and the guys we worked with. And don't get me wrong, you're always going to kiss a few frogs. Like, there's no way around it. But the team we've got now are solid. So good.
Yeah, and if I look at the volume of works you've going on, you need to have people you trust
100%.
because you can't be micromanaging every small detail. Like, this bathroom's getting done at 1 Kent Road and this bathroom's getting done at 3 Station Road.
Yeah.
And then you're in the minutiae of what's happening throughout every single day, checking in on them, or the plastering's been done here, or the flooring's going in here. That's too much for how much you've got going on.
Absolutely. Not like, and don't get me wrong, as it's staged up, like, I was project management and I was doing that work. But then as it gets to, like, we've got 3, 4, 5 jobs on at once and I'm trying to get other deals in and then we've got this to manage and this, and it's like, right, I can't do it. So it's either pay a little bit more for the right guy to come in and do it, or don't do it at all. And it's like, well, we can't really offer the service to the client of that end-to-end sourcing, management, and then out to where it needs to be unless we have that solid team. So it was very critical to what we need, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just having the people from every layer all the way through. So finance and mortgage, building team and refurb team, and everything that comes with it, whether it's being going to be a managed unit, whether it's going to be service and accommodation. It's just having that synergy throughout the whole organisation.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like, we're still, we've only just changed our accountants now, but there's still members of our team that are getting changed out depending. Like, as we've grown, we've got obviously different needs as a business.
New levels unlocked.
And exactly, and not everyone can or wants to meet that new level, so sometimes you have to swap people out. So it's not like, right, I've got my team, this is going to be my team forever. It's like, right, if they want to grow with us, then absolutely, more than happy to. But if you're not willing to grow with us, well, you're going to get left behind and someone else will come in that will take your place.
Yeah, absolutely. And the work that we did together was very much on that deal sourcing side of your business. What do you look for in that space in terms of maybe people you want to work with or deals you want to work with them on?
So for sourcing clients, there's a couple of things I do look for. One is an easiness to work with someone. Like, I like to be able to have a conversation. I like to actually enjoy who I'm working with. The thought of working with or for someone that I don't particularly like, I just won't do it, to be honest. Even if I think it's an easy sale or it's an easy job or we could get it done. Like, if I think this person's going to be difficult or if I don't particularly like the way they are or something they've said, I'll just tell them, no, I'm not working with you, to be honest. Because in the beginning, when we're trying to get clients in, we were saying yes to not everyone, but pretty much anyone that wanted to buy a unit. We're like, cool, we'll get you a unit. But by doing that, you're opening yourself up to stuff and you're opening yourself up to too many options and trying to then fit things that you're not maybe wanting to do. Do you know what I mean? So we're quite specific now on who we look for in terms of what do they work as? Do they have a family? What's their long-term plan? Are they looking to buy one? Are they looking to buy 10? Are they looking to have like a different mix of portfolios with buy-to-lets or serviced accommodations? it's really just a person by person basis. Like, we do have a rough avatar, but I like to know that I enjoy the person
on a personal level.
Yeah, like that's probably the biggest thing for me, because I'm not a way to put 6 months of work in to enrich your life and to help you do something if I don't think I like you.
We're going to get on.
Yeah, like I want to help people that I like. Do you know?
Yeah, and when the pressure comes on as well, you want to be able to have a conversation with somebody that's going to be open to hearing the challenging news and what you're going to do about it, of course, because you come with solutions.
Yeah.
But if you're working with somebody that's a bit of a prick, it's really difficult.
Some folk are just, I've had it before with clients where they just expect the world for nothing. And there's always flags, red flags in the beginning. You're like, oh, he's just said X. Don't really think that's right. Or, oh, he's mentioned this about this person. Or, oh, he's speaking about that person behind their back. And you kind of ignore them in the beginning a wee bit because you just want to get the sale in. But now I'm like, nah, it's not like...
You can filter more.
Exactly.
And again, we had some of the question sets we built were around qualification, but also disqualification.
Yeah.
So the people that are inappropriate, let's filter them out before we even do some sort of contract or some sort of process with them.
That's actually something I learned from Richard Dixon, is like, how do you get to a no as quick as possible? Like, if you've got 100 people that are interested in what you're selling, really probably only 10 or 15% are like super interested, hot, going to buy, and that you want to work with. So it's like, instead of how do I get that 10 or 15 to say yes as quick as possible, how do I get the other 85 to say no rapid? Because it's much easier to get a no out of someone than it is a yes. And I would rather know, right, are we going to work together or not? Can we get to that decision now? Because if we can, then we can just get to work. Instead of this back and forward, this little courting dance almost. Yeah, and it's like, it's a waste of time. Do you know what I mean? If you're serious, let's go. If you're not, see you later.
Absolutely. You've really scaled up the types of developments that you're doing, most notably with the Grey Harlings Hotel. Talk us through what it's been like undertaking something that's of the size that is.
Stressful. Really stressful, to be honest. I knew it was going to be more work. I knew it was going to be more stress. I just maybe underestimated how much, to be honest. Part of that's down to us, maybe lack of experience, maybe lack of, I would say experience at that level of refurbs. Do you know, like, we went from, my biggest refurb to date, it's like 130 grand. This is probably looking near 700. So it's like, it's massively different. You've got different professionals, you've got different regulations, because obviously it's commercial. There's going to be a bunch of people staying in there.
It's just like service accommodation on steroids, isn't it?
Absolutely. But like, yeah, way more. Like, it's a lot of detail. And it's just the volume of work. Do you know, like, it's not a 2-minute schedule of work. It's not a quick pricing document. It's not a quick, oh, we'll just buy a couple of chairs and put it in and look nice. Like, every section has to be reviewed and digested and went over multiple times. And then it's such a volume, to be honest. But we're getting on now. We're getting on really well. We're closed down currently. We've started to clear out work this week, and then we've got work starting next week. So we should be in the home stretch now.
It's a huge undertaking, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're working with this one with David, who I've met through some of the stuff that I did presenting at Paul's Platinum Mastermind, and then I've not met Andrew. How does the balance work between the three of you?
Really good, to be honest. We're all completely different. We're very similar in certain aspects, but we're all very different. So Andrew's very detail orientated, very detail orientated. With his job, he's a structural engineer and civils engineer for like a massive company that does like 400 unit developments, big skyscraper, all that sort of stuff. So in terms of like dealing with professionals, dealing with details, dealing with processes, he's amazing. Really good. And David is the spreadsheet guy that you mentioned. Like, if you've seen David's spreadsheet, it would give you anxiety. Genuinely, the thing's got about 40.
Some of these formulas.
Oh, it's crazy, man. Like, it's got about 40 pages and he's trying to explain it and I'm like, whew, it just goes clean over my head because that's not really my type of thing. So, but again, invaluable for that team. And then myself, I would say I'm quite good with people. I'm quite good with refurbs, like trade side of things as well. I've gotten quite good at finance and raising money as well. So that's kind of been my jobs on that side. And
You've got so many relationships in that sense as well now.
Yeah.
Like the track record you've got as well. Like, if somebody's in Scottish property, they've probably spoken to you at some point about either a joint venture, or you've sourced a deal onto them, or you've referred them on to somebody else.
It's a small community once you get out there.
It is.
It's a small community.
In terms of the people that are actually doing serious shit,
yeah,
it's less people than people assume.
Yeah.
Scotland's not a huge country, so that makes sense.
No, definitely not. And especially when you start, like, we work in Aberdeen, Dundee, and all of Angus, like, as our area. But then I'm down in Glasgow so often for training courses, podcasts, meeting people. Like, I've got so many friends down here now as well. And like literally as I was walking here this morning, I seen someone on the high street, the main street as I was walking in. I was like, every time I'm down here now, I bump into someone. Yeah, so it is. It's a very small community once you get out to it.
In terms of these projects then, the size of Grey Harlings, what's the end goal for something like that? Is it to do a similar thing again, or is it one and done?
No, so we're actually planning, collectively, David, Andrew and myself, we're planning to buy 5 over the next 5 years. That's the plan. It might not go exactly like that. It might stretch a bit longer or whatever else. But the plan is to build a portfolio of 5 units, bigger units like hotels, over the next 5 years and create a brand based on that for service departments and not like a new type of travelling, but this more modern type of travelling where people want a bit more privacy, but a bit more access. Maybe don't want to cook breakfast in the morning. They maybe don't need to stand and speak to someone at a front desk. Like we're finding, certainly myself, I find that I want a bit more privacy when I go somewhere. So if I can book in digitally or automatically without having to speak to someone, I can just turn up, pop a key in, and you go. That's perfect.
The way the world's going, isn't it? Technology.
Yeah. And that's kind of our target market, is that sort of 30 to 50-year-old active traveller wants to spend a little bit. Like something that Andrew said quite recently actually that stuck with me is like, if you're going to book a hotel or a room or an Airbnb or something, you always want it to be like your house or a little bit better. Like you're not going to go and book somewhere that's maybe lower quality than your own home. And that's something that stuck with me as well. It's like, well, that's spot on, because whenever I'm looking for something, it's like, well, I can just stay at home if I want average. If I'm actually going to spend, I want to go a little bit nicer. I'm not saying it has to be the Ritz or nothing like crazy, but you do want a little bit of quality as well.
Yeah, you like a Dakota, don't you? Or is it Blythewood you like as well?
Do you know what? I actually think the Blythewood's a bit overrated, to be honest. I've stayed in pretty much...
Because it's got the spa, I think they pumped the price up.
Yeah, but then it's all right, don't get me wrong, it's all right, but I think you can get better value. Certainly in Glasgow, you can get better value for your money. And I've stayed at probably 80% of the hotels now over the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we look at Grey Harlings, hopefully this is a model that you can expand out and out and out. What's so attractive about that is I found out that it's on the side of the 5th oldest golf course in the world.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be a lot to that, because while you're going to get those kind of 30 to 50-year-old active travellers who are maybe there for business or for work or whatever reason they're there, you're probably going to get some people that are interested in the golf as well. Yeah,
so like you say, it's the 5th oldest golf course in the world. It's a links course. I'm not a massive golfer myself. I've played a few times when I was younger, but it's not something I know a great deal about. I'm from Montrose, or like the area anyway, and I didn't know this until we purchased it. But yeah, it's massive. There's probably, I think there's 2 or 3 televised golf events per year, and our hotel looks over the first tee and the 18th green.
Prime spot.
Me. Yeah, so like every time you see these televised events, it's our hotel, it's the backdrop. So it's really good, like honestly, and it's so busy. That area is heaving all the time with golfers, dog walkers, restaurant goers. Like it's just so busy because of it. And something we're looking to tie into sort of the back end marketing is trying to get Americans and Asians, Chinese, Japanese, those types of people that love their golf, like the history of the golf course. Obviously, Scotland's famous for its steaks, its whiskies and things like that as well. So we're going to be partnering with local restaurants, local distilleries, local golf courses to provide sort of like stay and play packages. So I
think they'll be delighted with that as well, because the local area thrives when it's got the right amenities.
Yeah.
Without them, it's not got the full package. Like St Andrews benefits because it's got everything, all singing, all dancing, where you stay, where you eat, where you play your golf. And you need that for a destination that's got one of the, like a really, really unique golf course people want to go and visit. It needs everything around it.
Yeah. That was one of the big things as well, is that's why we're doing away with the restaurant and the bar and all like the services, so to speak, in the building, because there's 4 restaurants like directly across the street.
Stone's throw away, yeah.
And it's like, why would we go and compete with those other 4 businesses when we can do away with our food and drink service and put all our guests over to them, and then any guests they have that need to stay can come with us. So instead of working against them, we're working with them. And we've invited the whole community into the hotel, and we've presented to them, showed them what we're going to do, showed them the plan, and we're looking to build an app out on the back end where everyone can put their businesses on and they can refer for a free drink or a cocktail or 10% off around the golf or whatever it may be. Just because we're not providing that direct service doesn't mean that the guest can't get access to it.
It's integration, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the key term when it stands out to me. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Taylor, we can't not talk about jiu-jitsu, given you've got your competition coming up this Saturday. What role does that play in you being able to operate?
Oh, massively, to be honest, mate. Massively. It keeps me normal, keeps me from going off the rails.
Well, we said right at the start, you've still got that same energy and kind of relentlessness, but now we've got the vehicle of business, but definitely the vehicle of sport as well to sit alongside that.
It's something, as a child, I was never really athletic or sporty. I was quite a fat child, to be honest with you, fat and lazy. I wish I had it when I was younger, because I think I would have gotten less bother. Having an outlet and discipline, and just even the people you're training with, they're good role models, they're good people. Now, it's like my shut-off switch. Like, with everything that goes on with work, I'm running on 120% every day. Like, my brain is going, my mind is going. And if I don't train, I'll be standing staring at the walls till midnight, 1 a.m. Like, I can't turn it off. It's quite difficult. Whereas with training, I can go in, as soon as I step on the mats, my only thought is, right, I'm here to work, I'm here to learn, I'm here to defend myself. Like, I need to make sure I'm not getting subbed out and getting strangled here. And it just helps me shut off so good. And I don't know if it's the endorphins you get released. I don't know if it's because you're putting the effort out and sweating. I don't know what it is physically. I just feel afterwards I'm just so relaxed and I'm so at peace. And even if I've had the worst day at work, I can go home, I can get my head on the pillow, I can get a good night's sleep, and I'm fresh, ready to just get up and do it again. And even nights that I don't train, like if I've been working a little bit late, or I might miss class tonight because I'm getting home from here, I'll struggle to sleep. I'll struggle to eat my tea. I'll struggle to sit at peace, because I'm like, oh God, like that energy inside me is just, yeah. And I'm like, and I'll just start annoying Shan, or I'll start winding the dogs up, and she's like, you need to go and do something. You need to go for a run. You need to go and train or something. Because I can't contain it. I'm like a child, to be honest with you, sometimes.
It's just recognizing these things and building your habits and routines around it, because when you're operating all the different stuff that you're doing, we need that time away from it too.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel, since going self-employed, that hour in the gym, whether it's at lunchtime or whether it's later on in the day, I really feel better for it.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's just sometimes being strict about turning the notifications off on your phone, getting the music on, or listening to a podcast either for an upcoming guest or someone that I just want to hear from, and using that time to recharge away from it. And if you don't have that, you often will fall flat on your face at some point.
Absolutely.
If you're new to the podcast, make sure you've hit the subscribe or the follow button on whatever platform you're listening on, so I can keep getting fantastic guests just like this one.
I said it to friends of mine, and I say it all the time, and it seems counterintuitive, but the more I train, the more energy I have. Like, if I don't train for a week, I'll feel lethargic, I'm slow, I'm not as responsive, like I'm just a bit groggy. Whereas if I'm training every night, I'm waking up and I'm like, right, let's go. Like, I have so much more energy, which seems stupid because you're putting out more energy. I don't know why, and I don't know how, but yeah.
Probably chemical, let's be honest.
Something, I think so, because a friend of mine, we were in such a good habit of getting him into the gym. Like, he was getting in shape, he was getting stronger, and he runs a business as well, very, very demanding body shop business. He's got loads of staff, he's always busy, like always busy. But he doesn't prioritise the gym or his health, and it's starting to have a knock-on effect. And he was training, we had him training for, it was about 6 months to a year. He was losing the weight, he was building up strength, his form was brilliant, like he was getting on really, really well. And then as work got busier, it started to drop off. And just from speaking to him, like we catch up once or twice a week, and just from speaking to him, I can see the decline in his energy and his mood and his positivity. Like, you can physically see it just from the lack of training. It's not that work's any harder or he's any worse. It's just that he's not getting that outlet and he's not getting topped back up.
Definitely. And I think a sport like jiu-jitsu is so demanding in terms of number of sessions you need to do per week. So it almost forces you to fit it in as well. So like, if you're doing 8 sessions, you need to know around all your work, when it's happening, how it's happening. And listeners all know that I love time boxing and filling stuff in the diary. And you and I both had a really good routine when we were doing the Tuesday calls, because you knew that Tuesday call was me and you for an hour, a little bit of homework, walk the dog, go to class at 6, and then you went back and did a bit of homework before bed as well. When you have those demands, your time has to be a bit more ruthless. I think when you're not, this will be the case for your friend with the body shop, but when you don't have that pressure of, you've got 5 sessions that are an hour each to fit in, you get a bit sloppy, and your other work expands into those times that if you'd blocked it off, you could have protected and then been more efficient in your other work blocks to get it all done.
It's something I learned with the plant hair, to be honest. It's not really about the amount of hours, it's about what you do with the hours you have. Like, you can do 80 hours, like physical hours, but only get 40 hours worth of work done. Or you can do 30 hours and get 40 hours worth of work done, depending on how you do it. Like, I see that sitting, like, there's some days, I would probably say 1 day a week. Normally a Tuesday or a Wednesday is my busiest days. I'll probably do 12, 13 hours worth of work in 8 hours once a week. But then I might have a half day on a Friday.
Just a lot of caffeine and some snus.
Yeah, loads. My eyes will be twitching from the caffeine. But yeah, it's not really about just, because I learned that from the plant hair, it's not just about more hours, because you will just burn out and collapse. It's like, how do I get the most out of these hours and get 2 hours worth of work out of 1 hour? That's more important than doing 30 hours, I think.
What do you think are some of the habits and routines that maybe allow you to be that efficient?
So I have 0 notifications on my phone. Like, unless it's a phone call, my phone will not buzz, will not vibrate, will not light up, will not nothing. The only way it will is if it's a phone call, which is helpful because the amount your phone pings off, like, I'm bad for it now just sitting on my phone, but minimizing that has been helpful.
And I know you didn't even have socials before you started to go into the property world.
No, it was actually the plant hire, to be honest.
Oh, plant hire.
When I opened up the plant hire, I hadn't been on social media for 5 years or so. And even now, I hate it. Like,
It's a tool you use it as, I recognise that.
you can't have a business in this day and age without it. Like, it's just, don't get me wrong, you can, but it's certainly a lot harder. And I don't like what it does to your brain. I don't like the fact that it fries your dopamine receptors. I don't like at Christmas time when you get all these people, oh, look at all the presents I've bought for my kids, and then there's other people that can't, and
There's a lot of negatives to it, I see
it's
that.
just, it has such a psychological effect on people, whether they know it or they don't. I just didn't want to be a part of it. So I had nothing to do with it until I got the business, and then when I got the business, I was like, shit, I need more people to know what I'm doing. Like, that's the whole basis of it. So
Well, what are your leads for sourcing or people coming to you with properties to buy or sell
yeah,
come from social now as well?
95% of my business is from 95%, whether it's paid ads, organic ads, someone seeing a post that I've put up and then giving me a call or a message. But I would say 95% of my business is from social.
Yeah, and again, and one of the things we spoke about as well, it's like digital real estate. So your posts are on there, whether it's a YouTube video, whether it's a podcast, whether it's an Instagram post or a LinkedIn post.
Yeah.
If you are out there talking about these deals you source and the investor finance you can generate or whatever it is you're positioning, when somebody clicks on, you need to look credible. There need to be 5, 6, 7 posts which show that you walk the walk and don't just talk the talk.
Yeah.
And that's what I always talk about for whoever I work with, having that digital real estate there to show that you are who you say you are. Because if you're either doing outbound or ads and people are coming on, they need to be like, okay, this makes sense. It's in alignment with the kind of way they're holding themselves up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Something, it was actually Paul McFadden that said it to me ages ago, a couple of years ago now. Treat your social media like your shop window.
Yeah.
Like, long gone are the days of going down the high street to do your trainer shopping or go and get a new t-shirt or whatever when everyone's dressing up their window, making it look good. It's all social media now. Nobody gives a shit about an actual shop. They want to know what your social looks like.
Great.
Is it easy to consume? Are you doing what you say you're doing? Do you look like a normal person? Have you got kids and a family and a dog? Can I relate to you? Do you know what I mean? It gives people access without giving them access, so to speak. And it's a core part of our business now. Absolutely core part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the questions I've got for you is, you're a man that loves structure. What does the day look like? Let's maybe look at one of those Tuesdays or Wednesdays that's absolutely rammed. How are you balancing everything?
Depends on the day, to be honest. But my days are pretty basic, to be honest. Like, I like structure, but I don't like overcomplicating things. So 6 days of the week, I do exactly the same thing. I wake up, I've got undiagnosed OCD. Like, I'm an absolute neat freak. So I'll wake up in the morning, I'll tidy the entire house the way it needs to be. I'll take the dogs out for a walk. Once they're walked, start work at 9 o'clock, work 9 till 5, take the dogs out again, training for 6 o'clock.
Straight to class, yeah.
Literally. And that's 6 days a week. Don't get me wrong, if I don't make class because I'm working late or if I'm out, then there is obviously a change to that. But typically 6 days look the same for me, and I take a Sunday off.
I think it's funny, since going self-employed, how much more I'm working. And I was always working a lot anyway, but I feel like Saturdays on the laptop or Sundays on the laptop were more common. Previously, a Saturday or Sunday might have been a wee bit of podcast admin, but now it's sales coaching admin, whether it's doing a new proposal or whether it's doing some discovery calls when people can do them on a weekend when they're more available. And that's definitely something that I need to think really consciously about how I manage that. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of boundless energy for the stuff that I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily tiring, but it does take its toll if I don't consciously put a stop to it, because you can always be doing something. So after this pod tonight, I'm getting some food with a friend in town, but then I might go back on the laptop before I go to bed. And it's just making sure that time on the laptop is necessary, or am I just doing it because
it's more tired? Yeah,
that's right.
I got in a bad habit of that, thinking, again, I'm working, so as long as I'm putting hours in, it's fine. But then if I was working, say, I'd finish training and come home at 8 o'clock and I work 8 till 10, I might get some work done. But when I close the laptop at 10, I'm not getting to sleep till 1, 2 in the morning because my mind's racing. So I'm better actually just going to my bed at 9 o'clock and waking up a bit earlier and just putting the same energy in the next day. Like,
not every hour of energy is created equal.
Exactly. And for me personally, like, once I switch off, I find it so difficult to switch off that I don't like to switch back on in the same day, if that makes sense. Like, I'll only switch on and off once a day. On in the morning, 9 o'clock, off at night, 5, 6 o'clock, because it takes me an hour, and I've got like a little routine. And I actually did a coaching program with Louise Westra, who's like
I know Louise, yeah, I met her Growth Getters.
Yeah, so she does it's like a DNA profile on your body and how your body works. So I've got this little routine to help me switch off now because I struggle so much. And doing that with her, I realised it's actually like a chemical thing internally. Like, it's actually, there's a reason for it. It's not just me being wired to the moon. But I've got my little system or program or whatever you want to call it to turn off, that I'm quite religious. Once I do it, I'm not turning back on, because I'll never sleep, and I'll be pacing the house, and I'll be like just walking through the hallway, and I can't sit at peace.
The more we recognise how we're wired and we adapt our habits, routines and behaviours around it, the better.
Yeah, exactly.
You've had some big shifts when it comes to money mindset and how you deal with your money.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things you've been doing recently in the last year or so that have differed?
Yeah, so we were speaking about this briefly. I've always been good at saving. I've always like had a good idea of like getting money together, and I've, up until last year, I always had a safety blanket or a pot of money that I would use for my developments, for my flips and buy-to-lets and things like that. And it was just shy of 100 grand. And I don't get me wrong, I'd had this for years, like probably since I was about 23, 24, 25. I'd always had the same pot, and I would do this with it, do that with it, and I would always kind of just work it out.
And keep it at a particular level.
Keep it within a range, and I felt comfortable at that range. And as things got busier with the property, well, maybe not busier, but as things progressed a little bit, I would find myself, some days I'd be like, well, don't really need to work as much today because I've got that. Don't really need to go and do this meeting because I've got that. Don't really need to get out of my bed that early because I've got this. Like, I found it as a safety blanket. It was making me lazy. It was making me weak. It was making me comfortable.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Complacency a little bit.
Yeah, like, because I knew it was okay. Like, I could not work for a month and nothing would change. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like that. It made me feel a little bit uneasy. So I made a plan, and the plan was get rid of all that money. Sensibly, obviously. I wasn't going wasting it on shit. But we bought 4 properties in the space of 6 months.
So really aggressive.
Yeah, and then that was all for serviced accommodation. That was like the start of our serviced accommodation portfolio, which is quite cost intensive because of like furniture, setup, fees, etc., etc. So we bought them 4, and I put the rest of the money into a marketing budget for the sourcing business and into the hotel. So basically just spent all the money sensibly again and put myself back down to zero for the first time probably in about a decade. And the reason I did that was because I didn't want to feel comfortable. I didn't want to feel cozy. I didn't want to feel like everything was fine. I wanted my back against the wall. And
you find you operate better that way?
100%, 110%. I need to have that drive. And it's like an age-old saying of keeping the wolves away from the door. And that's what I was doing. I was keeping the wolves away from the door. All the bills were paid. There was no debt. There was no real problem, but there was no real growth either because I was too comfortable. So I thought, instead of trying to keep the wolves away from the door, why not just open the door and let them in? Let them nip at the back of your heels, and every day you wake up and you're like,
chase you a bit.
Fuck. Yeah, fuck. I need to get to work now. I need to make sales now. I need to get this going now because I'd gotten rid of the safety blanket. And I love that. I love that feeling. That's when I've done the best in previous times. That's when I was 21, I had nothing and my back was against the wall and the wolves were at my feet, and I'm like, fuck, I need to get going. Like, I need to make this happen. And I wanted to try and recreate that feeling because I'd felt I'd gotten too comfortable. So we did that, I think it was about October, November last year. So it's about a year now. Spent about 80 or 90 grand. We invested the whole lot, got rid of it. And just as we were coming down now, I double checked. We're sitting about halfway back. We're sitting about 42 to 43 grand over the savings pots of multiple different saving pots from the businesses. And what I thought would take 2 or 3 years to get back, well, within 1 year, we've already got half of it back. Probably by mid next year, we'll be back to where we were. But
and then you'll go again.
Well, exactly. But in that process, we've opened up a serviced accommodation business. We've bought 4 serviced accommodation units. We're now servicing clients with that as well, which has improved our sourcing service because that ties in. We've now got a hotel that's away to be operational next year. We're future planning for more. So what I've gained by spending all that money is astronomical, and the money's coming back. So it's like, why?
You took a really abundant approach, and I think that matters.
Yeah. I've never had a scarcity mindset, to be honest with you. Like, well, if you know anything about money or inflation or the government, you know they just print money. So it's not like there's a lack of money. If we need money, they'll just print more of it. So that's not the problem. The problem is how efficiently can I collect it? That's the real problem. It's not...
And leverage it and grow it and push
Exactly, yeah. So it's once you understand money a bit more, like there was a podcast you did with Rob Dix.
Yes.
And I read his book on a flight, I think it was maybe to Mexico last year or a couple of years ago. And I was reading his book and it was written in such a simplistic way that a 5-year-old could understand it. And as I was reading it, I'm thinking, oh my God, like it was just such valuable information. I was like, if you understand inflation and how the government use it to devalue their debt, you can then use the same process to devalue your debt and make money.
That book was a real eye-opener, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then what I love is that, as you do with everything you consume, Taylor, you've gone and actioned it and used it. And it's great that you recognize how you're wired, where that 100K pot was making you feel a little bit slower, a little bit more lethargic. So you just removed that.
Get it gone.
Now, you used it in ways that are obviously paying you back 40, 50 grand already. But you put yourself in a position where you knew you would work at your best. And I think anyone listening to this should always try and recognize what are the conditions and environments that force me to operate at my peak and lean into that more often.
Yeah. To be fair, I came to the realization after a training session one day. I was training with my old MMA coach, Dale, and I was against the cage and we were MMA sparring. And I'm protecting my face like this. And he's like, I'm on my knees as well. Like I've got knees on in against the cage and I'm protecting my head. And he's like banging me in my face, just relentlessly. Not like, obviously we're sparring, so it was nothing crazy. And he just said the most simplest line to me and I've ever heard. He's like, what are you going to do? He's like, are you going to get up or are you going to give up? And I'm just sitting here just like, boof, boof, boof. And I was like, well, there's not a fucking chance I'm giving up. Like, there's not a chance. And I was like, so if I remove that option, the only other option is just get up. And like, I'm still taking the shots and I get up and I turn around and I get off the cage and I'm like, fuck. I had this like bombshell
a lesson
moment
from the Hurt Locker.
literally, and I was sitting in my car for about 45 minutes after the session and like digesting it. And then that's when I came to this realization with the money and the safety blanket. And I was like, you're too comfortable. Do you know what I mean? You're too comfortable. There's no threat. There's no downside. There's just you in your cozy little box where you're never really going to do fuck all because why would you? And it was like, after that session, I was like, yeah, I need to get rid of that. I need to just get it gone and get back to zero and get hungry, like be hungry.
Yeah, well, Taylor, it's been amazing to watch how hard you've worked in this past period, and the work that we've done together has been tremendous as well. And seeing you channel that hunger and that energy that you've got in the right direction, I'm sure the listeners have loved the conversation. I hope you've enjoyed yourself as well.
Yeah.
If they want to continue the conversation with you, where should they head towards? What link should I point them towards?
Yeah, so you can catch me on social media. On Instagram, it's Taylor McDonald Property. On LinkedIn, it's just Taylor McDonald, and on Facebook, it's Taylor McDonald as well.
Beautiful stuff. All three will be linked in the show notes. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to the listener. I'll be back to speak to you again very, very soon.